Welcome to Whitetail Rendezvous Podcast, hosted by Bruce Hutchin, and episode number 152.
Welcome to Whitetail Rendezvous Podcast, where it is all about whitetail deer hunting tips, techniques, and the stories so you can become a more successful whitetail deer hunter. And now your host, Bruce Hutchin.
We're heading out to South Dakota today and connecting with Mike Hintz. Mike has a sanctuary behind his house, ladies and gentlemen. You can't believe the quality of deer that's coming off his about 60, 70 acres. One of the secrets is, one, there's a lake, and two, there's some public ground that funnels right into his sanctuary. Hunting has been a part of my life since I was a young child, says Mike. I'm a veteran and served in the Air Force. I am married with 3 kids, 2 daughters and a son. I've been hunting deer ever since I was 12 and have been able to enjoy it with my family and friends. From my dad, who got me started, to my brother and now my son, I treated everything I can for habitat and the conservation of whitetail deer. Welcome to another episode of Whitetail Rendezvous. This is your host, Bruce Hutchin, and we're heading up to South Dakota. And I guess for everybody, that'd be pretty heading up north, for most of our listeners anyway, except for those folks in Canada. But I've got Mike Hintz on. And Mike, thank you so much for your service in the Air Force, and we really appreciate the years that you spent there. And without further ado, Mike, let's talk about hunting.
So
let's talk about hunting whitetails.
All right, we can do that. Well, thanks for having me on your show.
Well, you're welcome. And you're living in South Dakota now, kind of sort of near Sioux Falls or so. And we were talking in warm-up about the uniqueness of your hunting land. So let's start right off and tell people about the land that you hunt on.
We have about 80 acres is straight behind us, and it's actually, there's 30 of it's underwater. There's actually a nice-sized lake behind our house. So there's probably only actually 50 of it that we get to hunt in. It's mainly, we got trees that run along the shoreline. We got some slough that hold the deer, and then my brother-in-law, he plants corn and beans, rotates the crops, which the deer like them, and we got, the deer just love to hang out back here.
Now, you said there's a lake, and so on either side of you, what are your neighbors in agricultural? Are they growing crops, or is it CRP land?
Well, actually, right, all totally surrounding us is public land, so that's why we try to kind of make it a safe haven for the deer back here until the hunting season comes. And then when hunting season comes, of course, then it's game on for the bucks. But otherwise, yeah, the deer, they just kind of like to congregate back here and hang out because they get off away from the pressure of all the hunters on the public land. So
is that like wildlife management areas when you say public land?
There would be game fishing parks, public, open to the public, so anybody can hunt that. And then actually right next to me, I got a boat landing where people put in the lake to go fishing.
Oh, my goodness. Now, do they also pheasant hunt that land?
Yes, they do. They hit it pretty hard when pheasant hunting comes around. I think that's kind of why the deer like to hang out back here.
Yeah, because I hunted South Dakota, pheasant hunting a bunch, and, a lot of times, a couple of guys, a couple of dogs, or a bunch of guys and a few dogs, and they drive. I mean, they drive fields. And it's amazing the pheasants they get up, and every once in a while you'll see a buck just bust out, and you go, "Oh my goodness!"
Yeah, we only hunted once back here during pheasant season. We had everybody get together and we walked it once, and that was it. And we left it alone again.
Yeah. Well, you had an interesting story about your 11-point buck and your son's 150 buck. Let's tell the listeners about how that all came to be.
Well, we got up early in the morning on opening morning of rifle season, and I'm one that I don't like to walk out when it's dark because you don't know what you're going to scare away or not. So we kind of wait till the sun comes up. well, we were sitting there and we're looking out, and there's a bunch of deer out there, and I got the binoculars. I got binoculars everywhere in the house, and I looked, and there was a buck out there, and I told my boy, well, there's one for you to shoot. Because it was his first year hunting to get a buck, so that's all I wanted to make sure I got his buck first. Well, so we got all dressed up, and we snuck out, and we probably got 75 to 100 yards away from him, but we got snuck up to a tree, and we were sitting there watching him, and he was behind the trees, and he just never cleared the tree. So, but we were just sitting there waiting, and all of a sudden my boy goes, Dad, right here. And right off to the right of us, here come walking that 150-inch deer that he shot, but he did not shoot it yet. And it got too close, and he didn't have his gun up, so we couldn't move. So we just sat there. Well, they figured something else was wrong. He took off, and all the deer went taking off with him. Well, I knew which way they headed, so we headed that way, and we got over there, and we saw my deer, and he wasn't ready to shoot yet, so I shot mine. So I got my 5x6 there. And then we came back, and I was just sick to my stomach, because I shot my deer, and my son never shot his yet. So we sat there, and we had a tree stand up out back that we'd sit in, because then we could pretty much see all the land around. And we sat there then that opening night. And we went back out there the next morning. And then, that next morning, then we had all kinds of 3x3s and all kinds of stuff running around, And I said if he wanted to shoot one of them, he could. He'd wait. We had 3 weekends we could hunt, so he waited. Well, then Sunday night, we went back out, and off to the side in the slough, I seen the big buck. I seen him pop out. He sort of come right back. So we got down from the tree stand to see if we get closer. And he went back into the rushes. So we went back and got up in the tree stand. Then he come out of the rushes again, and it's like, if we just stayed sitting there, we would have had a shot. But so we were up in the tree stand, and we couldn't move because some more deer came in on us. So we couldn't move her. They just bust all out. So we were sitting there, and all of a sudden the doe that he was with, that was in heat, popped out, and she started walking toward the south. Well, I knew then, all right, he get a shot here. So we waited, and the doe was out ahead of him, probably 20 yards, and so I had him get up and stand on the seat of the tree stand, and he was shooting from the back side of the tree, and the doe got downwind of us and could smell us, and I knew pretty quick she was going to bust out, so and she did. She took off running, and she took 2 little young yearlings with her. Well, the buck stood there, and he just cleared, and I said, I asked him, you on him? And he said, yep. And I said, hey, take him. And he pulled the trigger and hit him, and he ran about 50 yards and dropped. Yeah, it was a big, exciting time, because that was the number 1 deer we had on our list that we wanted to get for the year, and actually I got the number 2 buck on our list for the year, so it all worked out pretty good for us.
Well, yeah, I would think so. Now, how old's your son?
He's 14. He just turned 14 last fall, so he was in September. He turned 14, so yeah, I always say to him, I said, now what are you going to do? And he, what do you mean? I said, now how are you going to beat that for the rest of your life?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
In 06, I shot 155 inches, so and I still haven't come close to shooting one bigger than that one, but.
Wow. And that's all off your property, like you said, your 50 acres right behind the house?
Yeah.
Now, why do you think that size of deer is hanging in there? Because you get 2 respectable deer in 1 year.
Well, that deer he shot, we've been watching him for years out back. He kind of grew up back here. His mom, I think, was born back here. And we've been watching him for years. We got trail cam photos of him growing up through the years. And that's why we nicknamed him Hightower, because he stands pretty tall on it. And we said, that's the number 1 we want to get. And I really wanted him to get that one, and it all worked out, but he did.
Now, how many trail cameras do you have on that 50 acres?
I just got one, and that's a funny thing. I don't know how many people do it, but I actually go out and I mow paths through all the grass and weeds. And the deer, they really use it. I suppose they're kind of like us, you know. They're going to take the path of least, you know.
Yeah, you know, definitely they'll do that. I mean, if there's a path and they're going from here to there and they know where they're going, you know, they'll hang on that trail. Now, are there trees out there in that swampy area and there rushes?
Yeah, we got a bunch of trees that run right along the lake shore, and I actually just took my weed eater and knocked the weeds down through there and made the path so that they'd follow it there. They like to follow that path with least resistance.
No, are they going to a bedding area? Is that where they're going, or coming from a bedding area out to the feeding areas?
Well, it's kind of a funnel point, because there's a big slough that used to be back there full of water, but that dried up now, so it's kind of opened it up a little bit more. But you used to, before, when there was all the water there, you knew right where they were going to be coming across all the time when they did come. And now with it dry, it's a little harder to predict them, but you still know they're going to go which way they're going to go. And we actually got some crops on the 50 acres, and I'd suppose it's half and half what's left between slough grass and trees versus the cropland. And
you keep the food plot's a year-round food plot, or is it just a seasonal food plot?
Just a few. It happened one time some got left because the snow got too deep, so they couldn't combine it. So they left some out there, but most of the time it takes it out right away, and then. So some year hopefully we can leave some food plots up all winter long, but.
No, is he selling? Is he feeding that? Is he feeding those crops, or is he selling them?
No, he combines it and sells the corn, and he uses it for feed. My brother-in-law's got a big feed lot, so he actually cut the one field that's 40 acres of, there's just mainly farm around. He cut that all the silage and put that in his pile for his cattle, so.
It sounds like you got a little honey hole right behind the house.
Yeah, it is kind of a honey hole. I try to keep it a secret from everybody.
Yeah.
When you shoot two deer like that, it's kind of hard to keep it a secret.
Yeah, I bet you get a lot of people saying, "Well, gee, can I come over and put up a tree stand?" But
actually, nobody's asked yet, but maybe next year they will.
Yeah. Now, let's talk about how you got into hunting. You said hunting's been a part of your life since you were a young child. Let's go back to the beginning of your hunting tradition and share with the listeners who got you started hunting.
Actually, my dad. I suppose I don't know how old I was, but I was fairly young when I'd always go along with him, and that's pretty much he's the one that got me going on it. And then when I was 12, I shot my first buck, and then I've shot 28 deer since then, from then till now. And and then when we moved out here in the country is when the passion for it really started. I mean, because we can sit and watch out our back window. We can watch everything out back. Pheasants, in this wintertime, 50, 60 pheasants will come out of the slough. So that's kind of neat to not watch them. And right now the deer aren't out here. They go wintering somewhere. But my boy, I think he's got the same passion that I have, and hopefully it'll stay with him as long as it stayed with me.
Now, what are some of the lessons that your dad taught you about hunting?
Well, that's hard to, just about everything. More about, enjoying it, getting out with your family, enjoying it, and if you get something, that's just a bonus. The main thing, is getting out there with your family, friends, or whatever, and spending time with each other out in nature.
Now, what are some of the lessons that you've learned over the years, especially since you moved into the place you're living at now, that's made you a better hunter?
Well, I suppose the main one I've learned is patience. I mean, if you shoot the first thing you see, you ain't gonna get unless you know what you got around, of course. But I mean, I don't know, it's a tough question. There's just so much stuff that I've learned that I pass on. I mean, one of my biggest thing is safety. I mean, if you ask my son, he'd probably tell you I harp on him way too much about the gun safety, but I'm a big believer in that, and I pass that on to him.
Because safety, that's one of you got to learn that from the get-go, because if you're hunting by yourself, you got to be safe, but you put some other people in the mix, and you got to know what you're doing, and you got to pass that on, because you got to teach. We're responsible for teaching our kids, about being safe when we're hunting. No question about it. So if you looked, I'm trying to visualize. You're sitting. Do you have a back deck or something that you can watch over all this nature happening? A couple hundred yards away.
Yeah, we got a deck out back too, and I got a spotting scope on the tripod that's all set up, ready to go. If I see something, I can pull it out and look.
So is the house like 10 feet above the marsh grass, or how can you see down into the grass?
Yeah, we're up on the side of a hill, and we look out over the bottom. Actually, it was about 5 years ago. The lake was like, I would say maybe 25 feet from my house when it flooded. I was a little worried that year.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. But everything's back down now, so yeah, there was no deer back here then, though. It was all water. So
it's just over the last few years that the deer have come in because of the drought? Is that why the lake's down so much? I
think mainly, the deer probably were back here, but when we moved, I had a dog, and when the dog could just, he had free run of the yard, so I'm sure he always went out back there. As he got older, and he wouldn't go out there so much, and that's when I started noticing the deer start showing up more and more. I was like, oh. And then the last spring he passed, so the last couple falls he hasn't been out there. So that's when I really noticed him starting to hang out and to get. Actually, that morning before opening season, my edge of my yard to where the field starts is probably 25 yards away, and that Friday morning before work, I looked out the window, and it happened to actually be the buck that I harvested the next morning, walked up and started raking in the trees about 30 yards away.
I want to move to your house.
Yeah, I told the guys at work, I said, I need to shoot him so I can get my bark back. I'm kidding around, but...
Well, yeah, but instead of growing grass in your backyard, put a fruit plot in there, you would never leave your deck.
Oh, yeah. Last winter, they'd come right up behind us, and they stuck around till beginning of January last year. This year, they left fairly early. And I think that had something to do with us actually hunting them too, though.
Yeah. Now, do you have a lot of snow on the ground out there now?
No, not right now. We don't. We got some drifts, that's mainly, but I suppose out in the field there's probably only a few inches out there, and it's supposed to warm up, so that's going to be gone here pretty quick.
Yeah, we're supposed to be in the 60s later part of this week here in Colorado, so it's been an interesting year. That's for darn sure. Now, so I'm sitting on the back deck. So can I see the lake from your back deck?
Well, right now you can, because there's no leaves on the trees. But when the trees leave up, you can't see. But I guess if you look towards the boat landing, you can see the lake from there. But there ain't very much of it that you can actually see.
Yeah. So how far is between you and the lake? How far is that? A quarter mile or?
No, I'd say it's maybe 350 yards, maybe.
Wow. So all the deer, within 350 yards of the house all the time.
Yeah, they're within range. If you like taking long shots, you can shoot from the deck if you wanted to. Actually, the first year we lived here, my oldest daughter, had a buck tag that year, and she, I'd already gotten my deer, and we were sitting there one morning, and probably 150 yards out, buck was sitting there, and I had her sliding glass door open and take a shot at it. She didn't hit it. She told me my gun was off, so I had to go shoot it to make sure it was still on. And it was still on. It was her.
Oh my goodness! Now, did you know, when you bought this house, that you'd have a little deer factory right behind the house?
Well, it's kind of mainly why we bought it. My father-in-law, my wife's dad, he actually bought the land and hoping that we'd build a house here someday. So, and then he passed in 2005. He got in a tractor accident, got him. So then it was in 2007, 2008 we built here, and it was kind of, he always wished that we would build here, so we did. And it's mainly too because a lot of habitat for wildlife back here, and he knew that we liked that, so it's all worked out nicely.
Well, yeah. Now with the pheasants, do you have a lot of coyotes around your house?
Yeah, well, they show up, but when they do, we take them out. So actually, the one night I shot one off my deck, probably 40 yards away from the house. I shot him, but yeah,
for you, those listeners that are in urban areas, suburban areas, there's something about what Mike has there, because it's priceless. And I'm just sitting here because I've been, like I said, fortunate to be up in the Dakotas and hunt pheasants and stuff, and haven't hunted whitetails up there yet. But just sitting here and thinking about sitting there on your back deck, watching pheasants and watching deer and seeing coyotes and everything else that goes with it.
And then now this spring, with all the drifts and stuff that filled up the slough, the water will fill back in the slough. And in the spring, when the waterfowl migrate back, then they hang out back there for a while. So we get to watch them all spring.
Now, do the geese and ducks hang there all summer, or do they just pass through?
No, they hang around. I actually have about 12 wood duck boxes up all out back too for the wood ducks. So, and then speaking of that, I gotta go put new wood chips in there pretty quick here before it gets too nice. Well,
it sounds like you do a lot for the habitat and the conservation for the critters right in your backyard.
Yeah, I try. I like to have it all around, so it's like we're very fortunate to have what we have back here, because most people go on vacation and see what we see every day.
Yeah, I would say, it's unique, and I've talked to, you're my 152nd episode, and this is the first one that I talked about, hunting off the back deck, and, using your...
I've actually shot snow geese off my deck. And when they come off the lake, they come over low enough. I just run out with a shotgun and I'll shoot them right off the deck.
Well, that's one heck of an expensive blind, but as long as your wife doesn't mind, I guess it works.
Yeah.
Well, Mike, this is time in the show. If you want to give shout-outs to your family, brothers, people in the area, anybody that you want, why don't you take a couple minutes and just give some shout-outs.
All right, well, I'd like to give big thanks to my dad. He's actually the one that got me going in hunting when I was at a young age, and I guess I need to really thank my wife and family, too, for actually they don't mind me doing what I do. And I guess my mother-in-law and brother-in-law, because actually they own the land and farm it, and if it wasn't for them letting me do what I do around out back, I wouldn't be able to do it. So I need to give a shout-out to all them.
Well, Mike Hintz, just again, thanks for your service to our country while you were in the Air Force. And, I just had a great time visualizing myself sitting on your back deck in full camo and waiting for that coyote, pheasant, snow goose, or whitetail to just show up. That's a hoot.
Yeah, we enjoy it.
Well, you got something priceless there, and I'm sure you appreciate that. So on behalf of Whitetail Rendezvous, thank you for being a guest on the show, and I look forward to having you on down the road.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me. I appreciate you letting me be a part of this.
You're welcome, sir. Have a good night.
Yeah, you too.
As your host at Whitetail Rendezvous, I want to thank each and every one of you for spending your time with us today. I look forward to sharing with you in the next episode more whitetail hunting tips, techniques, and stories. Until then, keep the sun at your back, the wind in your face, and always be patient.
If you have any tips, comments, or suggestions, or what we can do to improve, because we're here to serve you, let us know. Thanks for listening to Whitetail Rendezvous Podcast at www.whitetailrendezvous.com.